the Pope stands as one of the most powerful figures on the planet, spiritually leading over 1.4 billion Catholics as the head of the Church. But this role goes far beyond religion. The papacy is one of the oldest and most influential institutions in all of human history. Its roots trace back to Jesus himself, beginning in an era when Christianity was a small, persecuted movement within the Roman Empire. Then, history shifted dramatically. When Christianity became Rome's official religion, the Pope's authority skyrocketed. For centuries, popes held immense power, commanding armies, crowning emperors, and steering the fate of entire nations. Long before Italy existed as a country, the popes ruled their own sovereign territory, the Papal States, with Rome at the heart of it, for nearly 1,000 years. Over time, the papacy saw its share of violence, intrigue, and bizarre deaths. Popes came from across the globe, Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and, more recently, South America. To create this video, I went through the history of every single pope ever recognized by the Church and pulled out the most gripping, intense, and jaw-dropping moments to tell one powerful story. This isn't just a roll call of names. It's a 2,000-year journey through global upheaval, imperial wars, religious schisms, scandals, crusades, plagues, colonization, and world wars. This is the full story of the papacy, and how its leaders helped shape the course of human history. Peter was one of Jesus' closest disciples and is considered the most prominent of the original 12. According to the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus gave him the keys to the kingdom of heaven and told him, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church." This line is the foundation of the Catholic belief that Peter was the first pope. However, some Christian groups interpret this differently, noting that Peter later called himself just a fellow elder in his letters. Catholic tradition holds that Peter became the first bishop of Rome and led the early Christian community there. He was likely executed during Emperor Nero's brutal persecution of Christians, and it's believed he was crucified upside down, at his own request, because he felt unworthy to die the same way as Jesus. Linus is recognized as the second pope after Peter and the first Roman-born bishop of Rome. He was a native of Italy and a Roman citizen. His leadership marked the beginning of what would become a long line of Italian popes. His name appears in 2 Timothy chapter 4 verse 21, which, if referring to the same person, would make him one of the few popes directly mentioned in the New Testament. Little is known about his papacy, but tradition holds that he maintained the church during a time of quiet growth and potential underground persecution. He is venerated as a saint in both the Catholic and Eastern Orthodox churches, with his feast day on September 23 and June 7, respectively. Anacletus, also known historically as Cletus, was the third pope and the first Greek-born leader of the Church. He was a peregrinus, a non-citizen subject of the Roman Empire, which set him apart from his Roman predecessor, Linus. His papacy occurred during the early, formative years of Christianity, and while little direct documentation survives, tradition credits him with organizing Christian communities in Rome and possibly dividing the city into parishes. Confusion over his name once led to a mistaken belief that Cletus and Anacletus were two separate popes, but the Church now recognizes them as the same person. He is honored as a saint in both the Catholic and Eastern Orthodox traditions, with his feast day on April 26. Clement I was the fourth pope and likely a Roman citizen with Jewish heritage. He is traditionally considered the author of the first epistle of Clement, one of the earliest Christian writings outside the New Testament, addressed to the Corinthians. This letter shows early papal authority in resolving disputes across distant churches. His martyrdom is uncertain, but legends say he was tied to an anchor and thrown into the sea. His feast day is November 23. Evaristus was the fifth pope, of Greek-Jewish origin, and served during Emperor Trajan's reign. Though little is known, later tradition credits him with organizing Roman parishes and assigning priests to specific churches. He is believed to have been martyred, though evidence is scarce. His feast day is October 26. Alexander I, the sixth pope, is traditionally linked with the introduction of holy water and the custom of mixing water with sacramental wine, though modern scholars question these claims. His pontificate likely took place during continuing Roman persecution, and he is considered a martyr. His feast day May 3. Sixtus I was the seventh pope, serving under Emperor Hadrian. He is credited with introducing liturgical customs such as the Trisagion, holy, 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 during Mass and enforcing the rule that only priests may touch sacred vessels. He was buried in the Vatican, and his feast day is April 3. Telesphorus, the eighth pope, was possibly a Greek hermit before his election. He is traditionally said to have introduced the midnight Mass at Christmas and a 7-week Lent. He is one of the few early popes whose martyrdom is considered historically likely. His feast day is January 5. Hyginus, the ninth pope, was a Greek philosopher before becoming pope. He battled early heresies such as Gnosticism and possibly defined aspects of church hierarchy, including distinctions between clergy ranks. His death is uncertain, but he is honored as a martyr. His feast day is January 11th. Pius I, the 10th Pope, was possibly the brother of Hermas, author of the Shepherd, a popular early Christian text. He led during a period of doctrinal disputes, notably over the celebration of Easter. He may have been martyred, though sources conflict. His feast day is July 11th. Anicetus, the 11th Pope, confronted the growing division over Easter's date, opposing Polycarp of Smyrna, who followed the Eastern practice. He maintained the Roman tradition and strengthened papal authority. He also opposed Gnostic teachings. His feast day is April 17th. Soter, the 12th Pope, emphasized the sanctity of marriage and issued writings on church discipline and charity. He maintained contact with other Christian communities, reinforcing Rome's role as a central authority. Martyred under Marcus Aurelius. His feast day is April 22nd. Eleutherius, the 13th Pope, possibly of Greek origin, is credited with formalizing rules about food, including declaring that no food created by God should be considered unclean, countering early dietary legalism. His feast day is May 26th. Victor I, the 14th Pope, was the first African pope, likely from Roman North Africa. He is best known for pushing for uniform celebration of Easter on Sunday, clashing with Eastern churches. He asserted strong Roman primacy and is considered a martyr. His feast day is July 28th. Zephyrinus, the 15th Pope, led during a time of deep theological division, particularly around the nature of Christ. His reign saw increased doctrinal confusion, and he was criticized by some contemporaries for indecisiveness, though he upheld orthodoxy against heresies like modalism. His feast day is August 26th. Natalius was an antipope, not officially recognized. He briefly led a schismatic group around 200 AD that embraced the heresy of adoptionism, which claimed Jesus became divine only after his baptism. According to tradition, he repented and returned to the church, making him one of the few antipopes to do so. Calixtus I was a former slave who became the 16th Pope, known for promoting forgiveness and reconciliation, including allowing grave sinners to return to communion, controversial at the time. He clashed with theologians like Hippolytus and died as a martyr. His feast day is October 14th. Hippolytus was a rival to Calixtus I and is considered the first antipope. A strict theologian, he criticized papal leniency toward sinners. Eventually exiled with Pope Pontian, he reconciled with the church and died a martyr. He is uniquely venerated as a saint despite his schism. Few details about his action survive, but he was later remembered as a martyr and saint. His feast day is May 25th. Pontian, the 18th Pope, was arrested during a crackdown under Emperor Maximinus Thrax and deported to the mines in Sardinia. He became the first pope to resign, to prevent a leadership crisis. He died in exile and is venerated as a martyr. His feast day is August 13th. Anterus, the 19th Pope, served only 40 days before dying, likely as a martyr. He reportedly ordered the preservation of official records of martyrdoms, contributing to the Church's historical documentation. His feast day is January 3rd. Fabian, the 20th Pope, was chosen in dramatic fashion when a dove landed on his head during the election, seen as a divine sign. He reorganized the Church's administration and sent missionaries to Gaul. Martyred under disuse. His feast day is January 20th. Cornelius, the 21st Pope, opposed the rigorous Novatian and emphasized mercy toward Christians who had lapsed under persecution. He convened a synod to condemn Novatian's claims. Exiled and martyred. His feast day is September 16th. Novatian was a schismatic theologian and antipope, elected in opposition to Cornelius. He believed lapsed Christians could not be forgiven, creating a splinter movement. Though later condemned, he was respected for his learning and discipline. Lucius I, the 22nd Pope, returned from exile under Valerian and continued Cornelius's moderate approach to reconciling lapsed Christians. Arrested again shortly after, he died in prison and is honored as a martyr. His feast day is March 4th. Stephen I, the 23rd Pope, is remembered for his firm defense of Roman primacy and for clashing with bishops in North Africa and Asia Minor over rebaptism of heretics. He was killed during a raid, possibly while saying Mass. His feast day is August 2nd. Sixtus II, the 24th Pope, led during Emperor Valerian's violent persecution of Christians. He was arrested during a secret liturgy in a cemetery and executed immediately, along with several deacons, including the future Saint Lawrence. Widely revered as a martyr, his feast day is August 7th. Dionysius, the 25th Pope, took over after a period of chaos following Valerian's persecution. He reorganized the devastated church and addressed disputes in Alexandria. He was praised for diplomacy and doctrine, especially on the Trinity. His feast day is December 26th. Felix I, the 26th Pope, ruled during a more tolerant time under Emperor Aurelian. He emphasized the distinction between the divine and human natures of Christ, a precursor to later doctrinal developments. He is believed to have died peacefully and is honored as a saint. His feast day is May 30th. Eutychian, the 27th Pope, served during a relatively quiet period. He is traditionally credited with allowing the burial of martyrs in red vestments, though details of his papacy remain sparse. His feast day is December 8th. Caius, also known as Gaius, the 28th Pope, was likely of Dalmatian origin and possibly related to Emperor Diocletian. He is said to have organized the ecclesiastical hierarchy, but details are largely legendary. Martyred in the persecutions. His feast day is April 22nd. Marcellinus, the 29th Pope, faced the start of Diocletian's great persecution. Some sources accuse him of temporarily complying with imperial orders to offer incense to Roman gods, though this remains debated. He repented and was later martyred. His feast day is June 2nd. Marcellus I, the 30th Pope, restored order after the persecution, but his disciplinary measures caused tension, especially with Christians who had renounced their faith. He was exiled by Emperor Maxentius and died shortly after. His feast day is January 16th. Eusebius, the 31st Pope, also clashed with factions over the treatment of lapsed Christians. His stance on requiring penance led to civil unrest, and he was exiled by the emperor and died in Sicily. His feast day is August 17th. Miltiades, the 32nd Pope, reigned during a turning point when Emperor Constantine legalized Christianity. He oversaw the return of church property and was present during the early Christian shift from persecution to power. Died in peace. His feast day is December 10th. Sylvester I, the 33rd Pope, led during Constantine's reign but took no part in the First Council of Nicaea, which the emperor called. Legends link him with Constantine's baptism, though historically doubtful. He presided over massive church-building projects in Rome. His feast day is December 31st. Mark, the 34th Pope, served only 8 months but made lasting contributions by appointing the Bishop of Ostia to consecrate future popes, a tradition that continued for centuries. He also began construction of the Basilica of San Marco in Rome. His feast day is October 7th. Julius I, the 35th Pope, was a strong defender of Nicene orthodoxy during the Arian controversy. He sheltered Athanasius of Alexandria and asserted Rome's authority in theological disputes. His papacy reinforced the Pope's role in defining doctrine. His feast day is April 12th. Liberius, the 36th Pope, ruled during the peak of Arian pressure. He was exiled by Emperor Constantius II for refusing to condemn Athanasius but may have temporarily signed ambiguous formulas to regain his position. His sainthood is debated due to these compromises. Felix II was installed as an antipope by Arian sympathizers during Liberius's exile. Later tradition confused him with a martyr of the same name, leading to mistaken sainthood. Not officially recognized as a legitimate pope today, Damasus I, the 37th Pope, fought off rival claims to the papacy and strengthened Roman primacy. He commissioned St. Jerome to translate the Bible into Latin, producing the Vulgate. He also emphasized the cult of martyrs and restored catacombs. His feast day is December 11th. Siricius, the 38th Pope, was the first to issue formal papal decrees known as decretals, asserting strong episcopal authority. He enforced clerical celibacy and is sometimes seen as the first monarchical pope. His feast day is November 26th. Anastasius I, the 39th Pope, strongly opposed Origen's teachings, condemning them for theological errors. He maintained ties with the Eastern Church and supported doctrinal unity. His feast day is December 19th. Innocent I, the 40th Pope, claimed that all major theological questions should be submitted to Rome for resolution, boosting papal authority. He supported St. Augustine against Pelagianism and coordinated church responses during the sack of Rome in 410. His feast day is March 12th. Zosimus, the 41st Pope, initially supported Pelagius but later condemned his teachings under pressure from African bishops. His abrupt reversals caused unrest and confusion. His short reign was marked by tension and controversy. His feast day is December 26th. Eulalius was an antipope who contested the election of Boniface I. His support from secular authorities created a papal crisis, but when he lost imperial favor, Boniface was confirmed as the true pope. He was later reconciled with the church. Boniface I, the 42nd Pope, faced a disputed election against antipope Eulalius. After imperial intervention, Boniface was confirmed and reasserted papal authority, especially in Gaul. He also defended the Church's independence from state control. His feast day is September 4th. Celestine I, the 43rd Pope, vigorously opposed Nestorianism and sent delegates to the Council of Ephesus in 431, which condemned it. He supported missionary activity, including the early Christianization of Ireland through St. Palladius. His feast day is April 6th. Sixtus III, the 44th Pope, led during the aftermath of the Council of Ephesus and helped reconcile factions. He promoted the Virgin Mary's veneration and oversaw the construction of Santa Maria Maggiore in Rome. His feast day is March 28th. Leo I, also known as Leo the Great, was the 45th Pope and one of the most influential in church history. He defined Christ's dual nature at the Council of Chalcedon and famously confronted Attila the Hun to save Rome. A doctor of the Church. His feast day is November 10th. Hilarius, the 46th Pope, defended the autonomy of the Roman Church, especially against encroaching powers in Gaul and Spain. He continued Leo I's policies and focused on strengthening ecclesiastical discipline. His feast day is February 28th. Simplicius, the 47th Pope, led during the fall of the Western Roman Empire. He supported Orthodox theology against monophysitism and worked to maintain church authority as imperial power collapsed in the West. His feast day is March 10th. Felix III, also known as Felix II due to numbering confusion, was the 48th Pope and great-great-grandfather of Saint Gregory the Great. He condemned the Henoticon, a Byzantine attempt to compromise with Monophysites, causing a schism with the East. His feast day is March 1st. Gelasius I, the 49th Pope, was a strong theologian who articulated the two powers doctrine, separating church and state authority. A defender of papal primacy, he was also the first pope to call himself Vicar of Christ. Anastasia II, the 50th Pope, tried to reconcile with Eastern Christians during the Acacian Schism, but his efforts were seen as too lenient. His sudden death was later viewed by some as divine judgment, and Dante placed him in hell in the Divine Comedy. Symmachus, the 51st Pope, was elected in a disputed conclave against Antipope Laurentius, triggering a violent schism. He defended papal authority against secular interference and was later vindicated at the Synod of Parma. His feast day is July 19th. Laurentius was an antipope who contested Symmachus's election. Backed by powerful Roman factions, he held Rome at times, leading to years of civil and ecclesiastical strife. Though later removed, he remained a divisive figure, and his supporters continued to challenge papal authority. Hormisdas, the 52nd Pope, ended the Acacian Schism between Rome and Constantinople through the Formula of Hormisdas, which reaffirmed Roman primacy. His diplomacy restored communion with the Eastern Church. He was the father of future Pope Silverius. His feast day is August 6th. John I, the 53rd Pope, was sent by the Ostrogothic king Theodoric on a diplomatic mission to Constantinople. Though he succeeded, Theodoric grew suspicious and imprisoned him, leading to John's death from mistreatment. He is venerated as a martyr. His feast day is May 18th. Felix IV, the 54th Pope, was appointed under Theodoric's influence and had a quiet reign. He consecrated the Roman Church of Saints Cosmas and Damian and supported orthodoxy amid lingering Arian tensions. His feast day is September 30th. Boniface II, the 55th Pope, was the first Germanic Pope, chosen by royal influence. His election was contested by Antipope Dioscorus, who died shortly after. Boniface struggled to assert his legitimacy and withdrew his controversial effort to name his successor. His feast day is October 25th. Dioscorus was an antipope briefly elected in opposition to Boniface II. He had strong Roman support but died just 22 days later, ending the schism. Though not considered a pope, his election highlights continued tensions over papal succession. John II, the 56th Pope, was the first pope to change his name, abandoning his birth name Mercurius due to its pagan origin. He condemned simony and fought against heretical influences in Gaul. His feast day is May 27th. Agapetus I, the 57th Pope, was sent to Constantinople by the Gothic king and ended up deposing the Monophysite patriarch Anthimus, strengthening Chalcedonian orthodoxy. He died shortly after but was praised for his boldness. His feast day is April 22nd. Silverius, the 58th Pope, son of Pope Hormisdas, was appointed under Gothic influence but was deposed by Empress Theodora in favor of Vigilius. He was exiled to a remote island where he died of neglect, recognized as a martyr. His feast day is June 20th. Vigilius, the 59th Pope, gained the papacy through imperial support but became entangled in theological and political chaos over the Three Chapters controversy. His shifting positions caused lasting divisions between East and West. He died in exile. Pelagius I, the 60th Pope, came to power under Byzantine influence after Vigilius's death. Initially opposed to the condemnation of the three chapters, he later reversed his stance, which caused backlash in the West. He worked to restore Rome after the Gothic Wars. His feast day is March 4th. John III, the 61st Pope, reigned during a period of chaos and invasions by the Lombards. Despite political instability, he maintained the Church's authority and remained loyal to the Eastern Emperor. His papacy was mostly defensive and low profile. His feast day is July 13th. Benedict I, the 62nd Pope, ruled during the further collapse of civil authority in Italy due to Lombard invasions. Many papal documents from his reign are lost, but he is remembered for his perseverance through famine and political disorder. His feast day is July 30th. Pelagius II, the 63rd Pope, was of Gothic descent and focused on strengthening the Church in Italy and Gaul. He dealt with the spread of Arianism and tried to resolve the schism of the three chapters. Died during a plague outbreak in Rome. His feast day is February 7th. Gregory I, also known as Gregory the Great, was the 64th Pope and one of the most influential in Church history. A reformer, theologian, and administrator, he restructured Church liturgy, promoted monasticism, and sent missionaries to convert the English. First Pope to call himself servant of the servants of God. His feast day is September 3rd. Sabinian, the 65th Pope, succeeded Gregory I but struggled to live up to his legacy. He was unpopular for his harsh policies during famine and is remembered for reversing some of Gregory's charitable practices. His reputation declined after his death. His feast day is February 22nd. Boniface III, the 66th Pope, held one of the shortest papacies, just under 9 months, but achieved a key milestone, securing the title Universal Bishop for the Pope from the Byzantine Emperor, asserting Roman primacy. His feast day is November 12th. Boniface IV, the 67th Pope, is best known for converting the Pantheon in Rome into a Christian church, dedicated to Mary and all martyrs, an iconic symbol of Christianity's triumph over paganism. His feast day is May 8th. Adeodatus I, also called Deus Dedit, the 68th Pope, was the first to use lead seals, bulli, on papal documents, a practice that became standard. He favored local clergy and suffered through a plague during his reign. His feast day is November 8th. Boniface V, the 69th Pope, promoted the sanctuary rights of churches, protecting fugitives from secular arrest. He also supported missionary work in England and helped establish Christian burial practices. His feast day is October 25th. Honorius I, the 70th Pope, initially respected for maintaining church unity, later became controversial for his ambiguous stance on monothelitism, a heresy claiming Christ had only one will. He was posthumously condemned as a heretic by the Third Council of Constantinople in 680. Severinus, the 71st Pope, had to wait nearly 2 years for imperial approval due to his refusal to accept monothelite doctrine. Once confirmed, he firmly rejected the heresy and worked to restore church discipline. His feast day is August 2nd. John IV, the 72nd Pope, denounced monothelitism and promoted the veneration of Dalmatian martyrs, sending aid to his homeland after a Slavic invasion. He is remembered for his orthodoxy and for strengthening ties with the Balkans. His feast day is October 12th. Theodore I, the 73rd Pope, continued efforts against monothelitism, excommunicating Patriarch Paul II of Constantinople. His feast day is May 14th. Martin I, the 74th Pope, boldly condemned monothelitism without imperial approval, leading to his arrest, trial, and exile by Emperor Constans II. He died in suffering and is the last pope recognized as a martyr. His feast day is April 13th. Eugene I, the 75th Pope, was elected while Martin I was still alive in exile. Known for his gentler approach, he diplomatically avoided provoking the emperor while still upholding orthodoxy. His feast day is June 2nd. Vitalian, the 76th Pope, sought to mend the East-West divide by recognizing the emperor's authority while defending Roman doctrine. He reinstated Latin chant and played a key role in calming tensions with Constantinople. His feast day is January 27th. Adeodatus II, the 77th Pope, promoted monasticism and resisted imperial interference in church matters. His tenure is notable for reasserting Rome's spiritual authority during a quiet but firm pontificate. His feast day is June 26. Donus, the 78th Pope, repaired churches in Rome and reconciled with Eastern bishops who had renounced monothelitism. His short reign helped improve Rome's relationship with Constantinople. His feast day is April 11th. Agatho, the 79th Pope, played a critical role in the Third Council of Constantinople, which condemned monothelitism and restored unity with the Eastern Church. He was praised for his diplomacy and theological clarity. His feast day is January 10th. Leo II, the 80th Pope, confirmed the decisions of the Third Council of Constantinople, including the condemnation of Pope Honorius I for heresy. A skilled linguist, he emphasized clerical morality and church music. His feast day is July 3rd. Benedict II, the 81st Pope, secured a key reform from Emperor Constantine for allowing papal elections without waiting for imperial approval, shortening delays. He also confirmed the doctrinal rulings of the recent Ecumenical Council. His feast day is May 7th. Conon, the 83rd Pope, was also of Eastern origin, chosen as a compromise between factions. His papacy was peaceful and brief, and he worked to integrate Eastern and Western Christians. His feast day is September 21st. Sergius I, the 84th Pope, rejected the Byzantine-imposed canons of the Quinisext Council, which caused tensions with Emperor Justinian II. He is credited with introducing the Agnus Dei into the Roman Mass and strengthening church independence. His feast day is September 8th. John VII was a pope of Greek origin, known for promoting art and restoring churches, including the Virgin Mary's image in the Lateran Palace. He avoided conflict with the Byzantine emperor and refrained from signing controversial canons from the Quinisext Council. His feast day is October 18th. Sicinius held office for only 20 days before dying of illness. Despite his short reign, he ordered fortification of Roman walls, showing concern for the city's defense. Not enough time to make a broader impact. Constantine was the last pope to travel to Constantinople, where he diplomatically met Emperor Justinian II and improved East-West relations. Fluent in Greek, he navigated doctrinal tensions without ceding Roman independence. His feast day is April 9th. Gregory II famously opposed Byzantine iconoclasm, rejecting Emperor Leo III's order to destroy images of Christ and saints. This resistance marked a growing rift between Rome and Constantinople. He also promoted Christian missions in Germany, notably supporting St. Boniface. His feast day is February 11th. Gregory III was the last pope to seek imperial help against the Lombards. He condemned iconoclasm at a Roman synod and increased the church's reliance on Frankish support, paving the way for future papal Frankish alliances. His feast day is December 10th. Zachary, the last Greek pope, worked peacefully with the Lombards and even deposed their king with public support. Without war, he sanctioned the transfer of power from the Merovingians to the Carolingians in France, laying foundations for the papal Frankish alliance. His feast day is March 15th. Stephen II was the first pope to rule as a temporal monarch, marking the birth of the Papal States. After being blocked from imperial support, he forged a pivotal alliance with Pepin the Short, leading to Pepin's donation of central Italy to the Pope. His feast day is April 26th. Paul I, brother of Stephen II, continued his policies and consolidated papal control over the new Papal States. He struggled to protect Rome from Lombard aggression and kept close ties with the Franks. His feast day is June 28th. Stephen III was elected after a violent power struggle. He condemned lay influence in papal elections and reinforced Frankish relations. His reign was marred by internal Roman factionalism but helped clarify rules for future elections. His feast day is February 1st. Adrian I reigned for over 2 decades and worked closely with Charlemagne, who protected Rome and confirmed papal authority. Adrian helped condemn iconoclasm again and expanded the church's political power. His feast day is December 25th. Leo III crowned Charlemagne as emperor in 800 AD, effectively founding the Holy Roman Empire. This act elevated the papacy as the ultimate source of imperial legitimacy in the West, fundamentally changing the church's role in European politics. His feast day is June 12th. Leo III famously crowned Charlemagne as emperor in 800, initiating the Holy Roman Empire. He expanded papal authority but also endured plots and accusations. His alliance with Charlemagne reshaped Western Christendom. His feast day is June 12th. Stephen IV had a brief reign but quickly anointed Louis the Pious as emperor, reaffirming papal involvement in imperial legitimacy. He was buried in St. Peter's Basilica. His feast day is January 24th. Paschal IV rebuilt many Roman churches and transferred relics from catacombs to city churches. He opposed imperial interference and supported missionary work in Northern Europe. Canonized as a saint, his feast day is May 14th. He held a synod to reform clergy education and discipline, asserting some independence from imperial rule. Valentine was elected with strong popular support but died just weeks into his papacy, leaving almost no recorded actions. His short reign remains a historical footnote. Gregory IV supported the Carolingian dynasty and tried to mediate disputes between Louis the Pious and his sons. He promoted monastic reform and helped develop the Feast of All Saints. Sergius II was elected amid controversy, bypassing imperial approval. During his papacy, Arab raiders attacked Rome, and the church began fortifying the city. He faced criticism for favoring family members in church positions. Leo IV oversaw Rome's recovery from the Arab attack by building the Leonine Wall, which enclosed the Vatican Hill. He defended the city militarily and spiritually and is regarded as a defender of Rome. His feast day is July 17th. Benedict III was elected in a disputed election involving Antipope Anastasius. He helped restore order and resisted imperial interference, earning respect for his firmness in difficult times. His feast day is April 7th. Nicholas I, known as Nicholas the Great, expanded papal power, intervening in royal marriages and church affairs across Europe. He asserted Rome's supremacy over bishops and emperors and is considered one of the most powerful medieval popes. His feast day is November 13th. Adrian II accepted the subordination of papal elections to imperial approval but still defended church independence. He supported Slavic missions and allowed liturgy in the Slavonic language, expanding Christianity's cultural reach. His feast day is December 14th. John VII was one of the most forceful 9th-century popes, resisting Muslim raids and urging Christian unity. He formally recognized the independence of the Slavic Church, supporting Methodius. He may have been assassinated by his own entourage, a rare and brutal papal death. His feast day is December 16th. Marinus I, once a respected diplomat, was known for supporting Christian reform in Constantinople and reversing earlier excommunications. He confirmed the Pope's role in international diplomacy. His feast day is May 15th. Adrian III died en route to an imperial meeting and was buried in Germany. Though little is recorded, he was canonized centuries later for his piety and service. His feast day is July 8th. Stephen V opposed imperial attempts to control the church and defended the rights of bishops. He provided famine relief during a food crisis in Rome and promoted Latin liturgy over Slavic languages. Formosus had a stormy papacy marked by political tension with the Holy Roman Empire. After his death, he was subject to the infamous Cadaver Synod, where his corpse was exhumed and put on trial. Despite this, he remains a recognized pope. His feast day is October 4th. Boniface VI reigned for just 15 days. He was previously deposed twice from the priesthood and possibly died of natural causes or violence. His troubled background made his election controversial. Stephen VI is infamous for the Cadaver Synod, where he exhumed and tried Pope Formosus's corpse, declaring his papacy invalid. The scandal sparked public outrage and led to Stephen's imprisonment and death. Romanus tried to undo the damage of the Cadaver Synod, restoring Formosus's legitimacy. His reign lasted only a few months before he was deposed by factions in Rome. His actions brought temporary peace. Feast day, December 20th. John IX continued efforts to heal the church after the Cadaver Synod. He formally banned posthumous trials and revalidated the ordinations performed by Formosus. His reign brought a brief period of stability to a deeply divided church. His feast day is January 18th. Benedict IV crowned Louis the Blind as emperor and worked to restore Roman order during a time of feudal chaos. He is remembered as a moral and firm leader, though his reign ended with rising political tensions. His feast day is July 30th. Leo V reigned only a few weeks before being imprisoned by the Antipope Christopher, who seized the papacy. Very little is known about his actions due to his sudden removal and the confusion of the era. Christopher is considered an antipope by many historians, though once listed as legitimate. He likely ruled for about a year and continued reforms after Leo V's removal. He was later overthrown by Sergius III. Sergius III restored Formosus's condemnation and had strong ties to the powerful Theophylact family, ushering in the period known as the Pornocracy or Rule of the Harlots, an era dominated by Roman noble women's influence on the papacy. His feast day is October 14th, which is locally observed. Anastasius III had a quiet and largely undocumented reign, continuing the church's administrative functions under the control of Roman aristocracy. He ruled during a politically subdued but morally compromised era. Lando was one of the most obscure popes in history. His reign lasted less than a year, and virtually no reliable records exist about his actions. He was the last pope to use a single name for over 1,000 years. John X was an active and capable pope who led a military coalition against Saracen raiders, achieving a major victory at the Battle of Garigliano. His later years were marked by political rivalry, and he was imprisoned and likely murdered. Leo VI ruled for less than a year and had limited impact due to the overpowering influence of the Theophylacte clan in Roman politics. He was likely a figurehead. Stephen VII also ruled under aristocratic control, particularly from Marozia, a dominant noblewoman of the time. Despite the corruption around him, he was considered personally pious and discreet. John XI was likely the illegitimate son of Pope Sergius III and Marozia, a powerful Roman noblewoman. His reign was controlled almost entirely by his mother, making him one of the most politically powerless popes in history. Leo VII worked to reform the clergy and monastic life, supporting Cluniac reforms. He promoted peace between competing Roman families and negotiated with German King Otto I. His reign was calm compared to his predecessors. Stephen VIII struggled under the dominance of local nobility and external pressure from Italian kings. He supported monastic reforms but was reportedly mutilated and imprisoned during political turmoil near the end of his life. Marinus II, also known as Martin III in older records, focused on church discipline and monastic reform. He maintained good relations with secular rulers and had a peaceful, competent reign. Agapetus II continued reform efforts and diplomacy with Otto I of Germany. He maintained papal prestige while navigating the still powerful Roman nobility. His reign was considered effective and stable. John XII became pope as a teenager, installed by his father, the Roman Prince Alberic II. He led a wild and scandalous lifestyle, and after crowning Otto I emperor, he was deposed by a synod. He died shortly after, allegedly of a stroke during an affair. Leo VII was appointed by Emperor Otto I after John XII's deposition. His legitimacy was contested, but he supported imperial reform of the church and worked closely with secular powers. Recognized today as a legitimate pope, John XIII was imprisoned by Roman nobles shortly after his election but restored by Otto I. He strengthened imperial-papal cooperation and continued church reforms. His reign was marked by stability and authority. Benedict V was elected by Romans during a papal crisis but deposed by Otto I, who reinstated Leo VIII. Though considered an antipope by some, he was treated with dignity and buried in Hamburg. Benedict VI was installed by Otto I but was imprisoned and strangled during a Roman revolt after the emperor's death. His murder marked another violent shift in papal politics driven by local aristocrats. John XIV, appointed by Otto II, was imprisoned by Antipope Boniface VII and likely died from starvation or poisoning. His short, tragic reign reflected the continued volatility of the papacy. John XV restored papal authority in Rome and promoted the canonization of Saint Ulrich of Augsburg, the first official papal canonization. He worked closely with the emerging Ottonian dynasty and died peacefully. Gregory V, a relative of Otto III, was the first German pope. He crowned Otto emperor but was later driven from Rome by a rival antipope. He eventually regained his position and worked closely with imperial authority to reform the church. Sylvester II, a renowned scholar, was the first French pope. A brilliant mathematician and philosopher, he promoted education and church reform. He was close to Otto III, and together they envisioned a revival of the Roman Empire. He is often linked, unfairly, with occult legends due to his scientific knowledge. John XVII reigned only 6 months. Installed under the influence of the powerful Crescentii family in Rome, he left little historical trace beyond his short-lived administration. John XVIII ruled under the shadow of the Crescentii and had limited independence. He maintained good relations with the Byzantine Church and may have resigned before dying as a monk. Sergius IV possibly issued a call for the defense of Christians in the East following the destruction of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre by the Fatimid Caliph. His reign was politically constrained by Roman aristocrats. Benedict VIII, from the powerful Tusculan family, was an energetic and reform-minded pope. He allied with Emperor Henry II to fight Muslim pirates and restore order in the church. He firmly opposed simony and clerical corruption. John XIX, Benedict VIII's brother, was appointed without clerical experience and accused of simony. Still, he played a role in diplomacy with the Byzantine Church and expanded the papacy's political influence. Benedict IX was pope 3 times, from the Tusculan family, and infamous for corruption and scandal. He sold the papacy, was removed and reinstated, and remains one of the most notorious figures in papal history. Sylvester III was an antipope elected during Benedict IX's deposition. His reign lasted just a few weeks, and though considered legitimate in some lists, his papacy was quickly annulled. Gregory VI bought the papacy from Benedict IX in an attempt to restore order, an act of simony, though done with reformist intent. He was later forced to resign at the Council of Sutri but remained respected for his moral character. His chaplain, Hildebrand, would later become Pope Gregory VII. Clement II, appointed by Emperor Henry III, immediately crowned the emperor and began papal reforms. He died less than a year later, possibly of poison, though he is remembered for combating corruption. Damasus II was another imperial appointment who ruled only 23 days before dying mysteriously. His papacy was brief and uneventful, with little chance to enact reforms. Leo IX was one of the most important reform popes. He battled simony and clerical marriage, promoted Cluniac reforms, and traveled extensively across Europe. His papacy ended with the Great Schism of 1054, formalizing the split between the Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox churches. His feast day is April 19th. Victor II, a German noble, worked closely with Emperor Henry III. He upheld Leo IX's reform agenda and maintained the Church's strong alliance with imperial power. His papacy marked the high point of papal-imperial cooperation. Stephen IX, a reformer and brother of Duke Godfrey of Lorraine, strongly opposed lay investiture and worked to purify church offices. His sudden death led to a brief antipope crisis. Nicholas II ended imperial control over papal elections by creating the College of Cardinals, ensuring future popes would be chosen by church officials. He laid the groundwork for future independence from secular rulers. Alexander II continued church reform and supported military efforts against Muslims in Spain. He endorsed William the Conqueror's invasion of England and condemned simony. His papacy set the stage for more assertive papal authority. Gregory VII, one of the most transformative popes, launched the Gregorian reforms to free the church from secular control. He clashed with Emperor Henry IV in the investiture controversy and famously excommunicated him. Declared a saint, his feast day is May 25th. Victor III was reluctant to accept the papacy and served for less than a year. He defended Rome from Norman attacks and continued Gregory VII's reforms. Though less prominent, he upheld the reformist legacy. Urban II launched the First Crusade with his call at the Council of Clermont in 1095. He also strengthened papal authority in France and Italy and supported reforms in church discipline. His speech mobilized Christian Europe for holy war. Beatified. Paschal II dealt with the investiture controversy, opposing secular rulers like Emperor Henry V over the appointment of bishops. He was forced into concessions under imperial pressure but remained committed to church independence. He also supported the Crusader states in the Holy Land. Gelasius II was elected in exile due to imperial interference and fled Rome to avoid violence. He spent most of his brief papacy in France, excommunicating Emperor Henry V and continuing the Gregorian reform legacy. Died within a year of election. Calixtus II ended the investiture controversy with the Concordat of Worms 1122, which allowed popes to invest bishops spiritually, while emperors retained temporal rights. This marked a major papal victory in church-state relations. Honorius II promoted reform but faced a corrupt election process, heavily influenced by the Frangipani family. He supported the Knights Templar and expanded papal influence in southern Italy and among the emerging military orders. Innocent II was elected in a disputed conclave, facing Antipope Anacletus II. He secured support from Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, France, and the Holy Roman Emperor, eventually winning legitimacy. Promoted monastic reform and papal primacy. Celestine II had a short reign, opposing the violent policies of King Roger II of Sicily and supporting diplomatic church reform. His papacy emphasized peace and reconciliation within Europe. Lucius II clashed with the rising Roman commune that sought to reduce papal secular power. He died from injuries sustained while leading an attack against the rebellious city forces, marking a rare papal death in battle. Eugene III, a disciple of Bernard of Clairvaux, launched the Second Crusade with Bernard's preaching. He struggled with the Roman commune and spent much of his reign in exile. First Cistercian Pope, deeply committed to reform. Beatified. His feast day is July 8. Anastasius IV focused on administrative and diplomatic affairs during his short reign. He restored the Lateran Basilica and mediated disputes between monarchs and clergy, aiming to maintain stability and order. Adrian IV remains the only English pope. He excommunicated Arnold of Brescia, a radical reformer, and crowned Frederick Barbarossa as emperor. His reign was marked by increasing church-state tension, authorized the English crown's intervention in Ireland. Alexander III faced multiple antipopes, mainly backed by Barbarossa, yet retained widespread support across Europe. He canonized Thomas Becket, defended papal authority vigorously, and presided over the Third Lateran Council, which enacted major church reforms. Lucius III issued the Ad Abolandam decree against heresies, laying foundations for the Inquisition. He spent much of his reign in conflict with Frederick Barbarossa and died in exile from Rome. Urban III continued disputes with Barbarossa and refused to recognize the emperor's appointment of his son as king of the Romans. His papacy was defined by imperial resistance and military tension. He died as Saladin was conquering Jerusalem. Gregory III had a very short reign, only 2 months, but issued a powerful call to launch the Third Crusade in response to the loss of Jerusalem. He also sought reconciliation with the empire and was buried in Pisa. Clement III repaired relations with the Roman Commune and made peace with the emperor. He organized the Third Crusade, seeking to recover the Holy Land. His reign was marked by pragmatic diplomacy and church restoration. Celestine III became pope at nearly 85 years old but ruled actively. He crowned Henry VI and sought to balance papal authority with imperial power. He promoted church independence and began addressing corruption within the clergy. Innocent III was one of the most powerful popes in history. He claimed supremacy over all Christian rulers, launched the Fourth Crusade, presided over the Fourth Lateran Council, and expanded papal influence to its medieval peak. A towering figure in church and European politics, Innocent III is considered one of the most powerful and influential popes of the Middle Ages. He claimed authority over all Christian monarchs, launched the Fourth Crusade, which disastrously sacked Constantinople, and convened the Fourth Lateran Council, 1215, which defined key church doctrines and promoted clerical reform. Honorius III approved the Dominican and Franciscan orders, laying foundations for their massive influence in medieval Europe. He supported the Fifth Crusade and worked closely with Emperor Frederick II, trying to enforce his crusading vows. Gregory IX, a vigorous defender of papal authority, excommunicated Frederick II multiple times. He is best known for establishing the Papal Inquisition to combat heresy and for canonizing Saint Francis of Assisi. He also issued the Decretals, a major compilation of canon law. Celestine IV reigned for only 17 days, dying before he could be consecrated. His election followed a harsh and contentious conclave, and no significant acts are recorded. Innocent IV fiercely opposed Emperor Frederick II, continuing a political feud that spanned decades. He fled to Lyon for safety and deposed Frederick at the First Council of Lyon. He also formalized procedures of the Inquisition. Alexander IV struggled to maintain papal control in Italy and failed to rally support for a new crusade. He protected the Franciscan movement, condemned heretical teachings, and promoted education. Urban IV, a French pope from humble origins, instituted the Feast of Corpus Christi and invited Charles of Anjou to take the throne of Sicily, deepening French influence in Italy and sparking future political conflict. Clement IV fully supported Charles of Anjou and his military conquest of Sicily, which led to the defeat and execution of the Hohenstaufen heir, Conradin. His alliance with France significantly altered Italian and papal politics. Gregory X ended a 3-year conclave deadlock and later reformed the election process through the Second Council of Lyon, which introduced rules for sequestered conclaves. He encouraged unity with the Eastern Church and launched another crusade plan. Innocent V, a Dominican and scholar, was the first pope from his order. He served only 5 months but promoted diplomacy and peace in Europe, continuing efforts to reconcile with the Eastern Church. Adrian V reigned for just over a month and died before ordination. He annulled some conclave rules but left little else due to his extremely short tenure. John XXI, a Portuguese physician and scholar, was the only pope to be a medical doctor. He died when the ceiling of his study collapsed. He was interested in philosophy and logic, and later listed among the Dante's popes in Paradiso. Nicholas III came from the powerful Orsini family and centralized church administration, placing relatives in key positions. He balanced politics and reform but is remembered for favoritism and nepotism. Martin IV, a French pope heavily controlled by Charles of Anjou, was rejected by Rome and ruled from Orvieto. He excommunicated the Byzantine emperor and sparked the Sicilian Vespers revolt, weakening papal prestige in the East. Honorius IV supported universities and the Dominicans, emphasizing education and theology. Nicholas IV, the first Franciscan pope, promoted missionary work and supported education. He worked to strengthen papal influence in Eastern Europe and Asia but faced resistance in Rome. Celestine V, a hermit and founder of the Celestine Order, was elected after a 2-year vacancy. Overwhelmed by the office, he resigned. One of the few popes to do so voluntarily, later imprisoned by Boniface VIII, canonized as a saint. His feast day is May 19th. Boniface VIII declared sweeping papal supremacy in Unum Sanctam and clashed violently with King Philip IV of France. He was kidnapped and humiliated at Anagni and died shortly after. His papacy marked the end of papal political dominance and the start of deeper secular resistance. Benedict XI tried to heal the rift with France after Boniface VIII's clash with Philip IV. He excommunicated those involved in the Anagni incident but avoided direct conflict with the king. Died suddenly, possibly from poisoning. Beatified. His feast day is July 7th. Clement V, a French pope, began the Avignon Papacy, moving the papal court from Rome to Avignon. Under Philip IV's influence, he suppressed the Knights Templar, allowing their persecution. His reign marks the start of French dominance over the papacy. John XXII expanded papal bureaucracy and clashed with the Holy Roman Emperor Louis IV over church-state boundaries. He controversially delayed recognizing the beatific vision and was accused of heresy posthumously, though cleared. Strengthened the Avignon court's power. Benedict XII ND, a reform-minded pope, attempted to return the papacy to Rome but failed due to political pressure. He reformed monastic life and papal administration and built the Palace of the Popes in Avignon, solidifying its importance. Clement VI was known for his lavish court and worldly style. He justified the Avignon papacy, bought Avignon from Naples, and issued papal protections for Jews during the Black Death. He was heavily involved in European politics and patronized the arts. Innocent VI supported church reform and the restoration of papal authority in Italy through Cardinal Albornoz. He was more austere than his predecessors and began rebuilding Rome's influence from Avignon. Maintained peace between France and England temporarily. Urban V attempted to return the papacy to Rome and briefly succeeded in 1367, but returned to Avignon after facing instability. A Benedictine and reformer, he supported education and missions. Beatified. His feast day is December 19th. Gregory XI successfully returned the papacy to Rome in 1377, influenced by Saint Catherine of Siena. His death in 1378 triggered the Western Schism, as competing popes were elected in Rome and Avignon. Urban VI was the first Roman pope after the Avignon period, but his erratic behavior led to the election of Antipope Clement VII, starting the Western Schism. He ruled from Rome but faced ongoing challenges to his legitimacy. Boniface IX reigned during the Western Schism, claiming legitimacy in Rome while rival popes ruled in Avignon. He sold indulgences to raise funds, restored Roman churches, and strengthened his political hold over central Italy. His papacy was criticized for corruption but solidified the Roman line. Innocent VII attempted to end the schism through negotiation but was blocked by Roman unrest and his own family's violence. His short reign was marked by chaos in Rome and failed attempts at reform. Gregory XII was pressured to resign to help resolve the schism. He initially resisted, but finally abdicated voluntarily at the Council of Constance, one of the few popes to step down willingly. His resignation paved the way for unity. Martin V was elected at the Council of Constance, ending the schism and restoring papal unity. He rebuilt Rome, restored papal finances, and centralized church authority. His reign marked a return to strong papal governance after decades of division. Eugene IV clashed with the Council of Basel, which sought to limit papal authority. He eventually reasserted control, emphasized the Pope's supremacy, and worked to reunite with Eastern Christianity at the Council of Florence. His long reign stabilized the Church. Nicholas V launched the Renaissance papacy, sponsoring artists and scholars. He founded the Vatican Library and restored Roman infrastructure. A patron of humanism, he also called for a crusade against the Turks after the fall of Constantinople in 1453. Calixtus III, a Spaniard, focused on organizing a crusade to reclaim Constantinople, though it failed. He rehabilitated Joan of Arc, overturning her heresy conviction. He was known for nepotism, especially favoring his Borgia relatives. Pius II, a former humanist writer, Ennio Silvio Piccolomini, continued Renaissance cultural patronage. He opposed the advance of the Ottoman Empire and famously tried to lead a crusade in person, though he died before it launched. Paul II reformed the College of Cardinals but was accused of vanity and suppressing humanist scholars. He centralized power and promoted the Jubilee of 1475, but his papacy lacked the intellectual energy of his predecessors. Sixtus IV built the Sistine Chapel and expanded the Vatican Library, but his papacy was marred by political corruption and nepotism. He authorized the Spanish Inquisition and was involved in the Pazzi conspiracy against the Medici in Florence. Innocent VIII supported Ferdinand and Isabella of Spain, issued the bull authorizing the Spanish Inquisition, and engaged in rampant nepotism. He declared witchcraft a threat to the church, issuing the bull Summis Desideratus, which fueled witch hunts. Alexander VI, born Rodrigo Borgia, became infamous for his corruption, nepotism, and immorality. He expanded the Papal States, brokered the Treaty of Tordesillas dividing the New World, and fathered multiple children, including Cesare and Lucrezia Borgia. His papacy became a symbol of the worst excesses of Renaissance Rome. Alexander VI, a Spanish Borgia pope, is infamous for scandal, nepotism, and corruption. He enriched his family, including Cesare and Lucrezia Borgia, and used strategic marriages and military campaigns to expand papal power. Despite his reputation, he strengthened the Papal States and negotiated the Treaty of Tordesillas. Pius III reigned for just 26 days. Despite a promising reputation as a reformer, his failing health prevented him from enacting change. He was the nephew of Pope Pius II and was widely respected, though largely forgotten due to his short papacy. Julius II, the warrior pope, aggressively expanded the Papal States through military campaigns. He patronized the arts, commissioning Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel ceiling, and laid the foundation for St. Peter's Basilica. He convened the Fifth Lateran Council to address church reform. Leo X, son of Lorenzo de' Medici, oversaw a lavish and artistic papacy, famously saying, "Let us enjoy the papacy, since God has given it to us." He excommunicated Martin Luther and triggered the Protestant Reformation by selling indulgences to fund St. Peter's Basilica. Adrian VI, the only Dutch pope, attempted urgent reform of church corruption. A serious scholar and former tutor to Emperor Charles V, he blamed the curious sins for the Reformation but faced deep resistance in Rome. Died after only 20 months. Clement VII, a Medici pope, failed to prevent the sack of Rome in 1527 by imperial troops, which devastated the city and papal prestige. He also failed to resolve Henry VIII's marriage crisis, indirectly triggering the English Reformation. Paul III launched the Council of Trent, beginning the Counter-Reformation. He excommunicated Henry VIII and approved the Jesuit order, key to Catholic renewal. Despite reform efforts, he continued nepotism, elevating his grandsons to high office. Julius III reopened the Council of Trent but made little progress. His papacy was marked by favoritism and scandal, particularly surrounding a young protege. He lacked the energy for major reform despite good intentions. Marcellus II reigned for just 22 days but was admired for his piety and reformist mindset. His brief papacy inspired the Mass for Pope Marcellus by Palestrina, widely mourned upon his sudden death. Clement VIII ended France's wars of religion by absolving Henry IV, strengthening Catholic unity. He issued the Index of Forbidden Books, supported missions, and revised liturgical texts. A skilled diplomat, he also annexed Ferrara to the Papal States. Leo XI reigned for just 27 days, dying before making significant impact. Known as the Lightning Pope, his papacy was the sixth shortest in history. He was a Medici and was remembered for his piety and good intentions. Paul V defended church authority in clashes with Venice and Galileo. He expanded the Basilica of St. Peter, formalized canonization procedures, and promoted missionary activity. His strong assertion of papal supremacy stirred political resistance. Gregory V established the Congregation for the Propagation of the Faith, Propaganda Fide, professionalizing missionary work. He also regulated papal conclaves, introducing secret ballots to curb outside influence. His short reign had long-lasting institutional effects. Urban VIII, a patron of Baroque art, commissioned works by Bernini and fortified the Papal States. He condemned Galileo's heliocentrism, leading to the scientist's trial. He engaged in nepotism and backed France during the 30 Years' War, making him politically divisive. Innocent X opposed the Peace of Westphalia, which reduced papal influence in European politics. He denounced the treaties but was ignored. He also investigated corruption within the Curia and distanced the papacy from French dominance. Alexander VII promoted urban beautification of Rome, including Bernini's St. Peter's Square colonnade. A scholar and theologian, He attempted reform but clashed with Louis XIV over church rights and Gallicanism. Buried in a tomb sculpted by Bernini, Clement IX brokered temporary peace with Jansenists in France and helped mediate during the Ottoman siege of Crete. Known for compassion and charity, he supported arts and was popular with the Roman people. Clement X, the oldest pope elected at 80, focused on ceremonial and charitable duties. He promoted several saints and supported Catholic missions but had limited political engagement due to his age. Innocent XI was a reformer who combated nepotism and lavish spending. He supported William of Orange against Catholic King James II of England and was a vocal critic of Louis XIV's Gallican policies, later beatified for his moral rigor. His feast day is August 12. Alexander VIII, an elderly Venetian, reversed many of Innocent C's reforms and indulged in nepotism. His short reign focused on easing French tensions, but his policies weakened papal finances. Innocent XII restored fiscal and administrative discipline after Alexander XVIII. He banned nepotism, reformed the papal bureaucracy, and championed social welfare, including founding hospitals and supporting the poor. Clement XI faced growing European secularism and Jansenist controversy. He condemned Quesnel's propositions and issued the bull Unigenitus, supported arts and missions, and dealt with growing tensions with Enlightenment monarchies. Innocent XIII was a restrained pope who opposed Jesuit political influence in China and did little to counter European anti-papal sentiment. His brief reign was marked by caution and indecision. Benedict XIII was personally pious but governed poorly, manipulated by corrupt advisors. He canonized St. Louis Delaware Montfort and promoted popular devotion, yet his reign left the church disorganized. Clement XII restored papal finances, built Rome's Trevi Fountain, and condemned Freemasonry. Despite being blind, he was a capable administrator who expanded the Vatican library and art patronage. Benedict XIV, a brilliant scholar, promoted scientific inquiry, reformed canon law, and was one of the most intellectually respected popes of the era. He improved relations with Protestant nations and opposed Jansenism with moderation. Clement XIII defended the Jesuits against rising anti-clericalism but faced mounting pressure from Catholic monarchs. His death preceded the suppression of the Society of Jesus. Clement XIV suppressed the Jesuits under pressure from Bourbon monarchs, a controversial decision meant to preserve political stability. He promoted moderate reform and died under suspicious circumstances. Pius VI faced the French Revolution, which devastated the church in France. He condemned the civil constitution of the clergy and was later taken prisoner by Napoleon's forces, dying in exile in Valence. Pius VII negotiated with Napoleon and signed the Concordat of 1801, restoring church presence in France. Later imprisoned by Napoleon, he returned to rebuild a devastated church after the emperor's fall. Leo XII was a conservative who reasserted clerical control and censorship, supported traditional Catholic values, and pushed back against Enlightenment liberalism. Pius VIII had a brief reign, condemning indifferentism and secret societies. He worked to balance diplomacy with doctrinal clarity but died after just 20 months. Gregory XVI fiercely opposed liberalism, nationalism, and railroads, defending absolutist rule and reinforcing papal authority. He launched missions abroad but clashed with rising modern political ideas. Pius IX, the longest reigning pope, began as a liberal but turned conservative after the 1848 revolutions. He defined the Immaculate Conception, issued the Syllabus of Errors, and oversaw the First Vatican Council, which declared papal infallibility. He lost the Papal States in 1870. Leo XIII embraced modernity more than his predecessors, issuing Rerum Novarum, the Church's first major social justice encyclical. He opened the Vatican archives, promoted Thomism, and sought diplomatic outreach to secular states. Pius X was a staunch traditionalist who initiated major liturgical reforms, lowered the First Communion age, and condemned modernism as a heresy. Canonized as a saint, he is remembered for spiritual renewal and strict doctrinal discipline. His feast day is August 21st. Benedict XV led the Church through World War I, advocating for peace and neutrality. He provided humanitarian aid and was respected for his moral leadership. He modernized canon law with the 1917 Code of Canon Law and supported post-war reconciliation. Pius XI signed the Lateran Treaty, 1929, creating Vatican City as a sovereign state. He condemned fascism, Nazism, and atheistic communism in encyclicals, a vocal defender of church independence during rising totalitarianism. Pius XII led during World War II and the Holocaust. Critics debate his response to Nazi atrocities, while others highlight his behind-the-scenes diplomacy and efforts to shelter Jews. He defined the dogma of the Assumption and opposed communism during the Cold War. John XXIII, known as Good Pope John, stunned the world by convening Vatican II, aimed at modernizing the Church. He promoted peace, ecumenism, and social justice, issuing Pacem in Terris, beatified and later canonized. His feast day is October 11th. Paul VI completed Vatican II and implemented its reforms. He promoted global Catholicism, dialogue with other religions, and social justice. His encyclical Humanae Vitae, 1968, reaffirmed opposition to contraception, sparking controversy. Beatified and canonized, John Paul I reigned just 33 days, earning the nickname the Smiling Pope. Known for humility and rejecting papal grandeur, he died unexpectedly, sparking speculation. His personal warmth left a lasting impression. John Paul II, the first non-Italian pope in 455 years, became one of the most influential popes in history. A Polish philosopher, he helped end communism in Eastern Europe, especially in his native Poland. He canonized more saints than any predecessor, issued Evangelium Vitae, and upheld conservative doctrine. He survived an assassination attempt and inspired millions globally. Canonized in 2014. His feast day is October 22nd. Benedict XVI, a German theologian and former head of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, was known for his deep intellectualism and defense of traditional doctrine. He promoted liturgical reverence, fought secular relativism, and faced major challenges from clergy abuse scandals. In 2013, he became the first pope to resign in over 600 years, citing declining health. Retired with the title Pope Emeritus and passed away in 2022. Francis is the first Jesuit pope, the first from the Americas, and the first non-European in over 1,200 years. Known for his emphasis on mercy, humility, and care for the poor, he published Laudato Si on the environment and Fratelli Tutti on human fraternity. He has pushed for church decentralization, pastoral reform, and dialogue with non-Catholics, while facing criticism for perceived ambiguity on doctrine and governance. He died April 21, 2025. Pope Leo XIV was born Robert Francis Prevost on September 14, 1955, in Chicago, made history on May 8, 2025, as the first American and first Augustinian to ascend to the papacy. His election marks a significant moment for the Catholic Church, reflecting a blend of deep theological roots and a commitment to social justice.